Urvish. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak to me today.
Thank you so much for coming down.
Great. Now, I know there's some exciting new things going on here at the Planet, including a new managed hosting offering. So, why don't you tell me a bit about how long this has actually been in development for?
Sure. I mean, we've been thinking about this for over a year. In fact, we made our first most significant hire around this last summer when we hired a general manager that really came to us from the industry. And so he's been steadily building the plan, and most importantly, building a team really starting the beginning of this year. We've brought on about 18 people that are focused on not just developing but providing this service.
Great.
And really at the beginning of April, we launched limited availability. And since that time, we've acquired 5 customers that have been on board that have quite frankly helped us tune and refine our processes and offerings in preparation for our July announcement.
Give me a little more detail about the process you've been going through in terms of the beta customers and such.
Sure. I mean, we're all really starting, you kind of talk about the sort of the development. It all started with, first and foremost, a series of advisory councils. So about once, or maybe in many cases 2 times a quarter, we bring in a series of customers. We fly them down to Houston and we spend a day and a half with them, talking about what are their concerns, what are their issues, and really what we're doing to make sure that we're kind of on the same page.
Right.
And so as all sort of product management really is it is an iterative sort of process where you continue to learn. But that's what really built the plans for our first offering, right? Since that time, working with these betas, we've learned a lot in terms of what their expectations are, where exactly they want to draw the line of roles and responsibilities, and we've been continually refining that into our first launch. And so, in July when we launch, we're going to have a really a field-tested offering,
right,
as opposed to one that's kind of just out there.
Well, let's get into the nitty-gritties about this managed hosting offering called Planet Northstar.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little more detail on the technical aspects of it?
Sure. The Planet Northstar offering that we're putting together really has, I'd say 3 key tenets to it, right? The first and foremost is that, we have standardized for the first launch here around the Microsoft platform.
Which is interesting in itself.
Yeah, and I think it really came down to, again, talking to those customers. What they told us is where their most complex management needs are, where they lack the most expertise is on that platform. Right. Secondly, it's really around putting together a sort of a fully dedicated team.
Right.
That by name. You're not calling into a call center and seeing who picks up the phone. You're calling Joe, who was there with you when we installed your environment. He's been there. That's been supporting you. He's there doing monthly and quarterly reviews with you. He's the one that understands your environment. And so the point is that they can provide, that team can provide rich support for you. Now, it's not just Joe, it's a team of Joes, right? There's Joe, the security engineer. There's Joe, the system architect. There's Joe, the storage and backup engineer. There's Joe, the technical account manager that's running it all, or the database administrator. And all these guys carry the relevant certifications for their market, right? And so while we picked sort of a given platform, we realized that we couldn't just have a team of, sort of, I would say, lowest common denominator experts, right? What we ultimately wanted were experts in their given fields that are essentially on the hook for supporting each customer environment. And then there's the third piece, right? And the third piece is really about having sort of an advanced service level agreement. Okay. And that really means that, in addition to having a service level agreement that covers network and power, we're going to be layering in a service level agreement that includes a 1-hour replacement on hardware in the event that there's a hardware failure, as well as a 15-minute response time relative to service tickets. Obviously, you can always pick up the phone and call, but we also know that once you submit a ticket, you're going to get a response from us within 15 minutes.
So besides this dedicated team that you've put together, what have you been preparing support-wise?
Sure. And so great support, obviously has to be rooted in having great people, right? And that's a given, right? But, great people, as well-intentioned as they might be, typically will you don't want them to make it up as they go along, right? And so what we've actually done is we've taken the time to build a full process around this, right? And ultimately, we call that process the anticipation advantage methodology.
Right.
And what we've done is taken a series of best practices from our experience as well as those from industry experts and baked them into a repeatable process so that when a customer comes on board, we're doing an assessment with them, so that we understand what their priorities are. We're basically building and designing a solution for them that includes, a scalability plan, includes a performance metrics plan, includes a security and compliance plan, a disaster recovery plan. All those different pieces are part of the process, so that we don't forget them, right? I mean, and ultimately, those all get baked into real concrete deliverables that customers can get, and they need to sign off on to make sure they're comfortable. And if they're not, then the technical account manager and that dedicated team's on the hook for getting them happy, right? And those things bake into a closed loop process so that we say, okay, if this is your scalability plan and it needs to be aligned with your business goals, it says that, okay, I'm launching my new online application. This month I expect to have 100 customers. Next month it's 200. The month after that it's 500 or whatever. We now have a cooperative, jointly agreed upon plan of how we're going to scale your infrastructure, how we're going to scale your management, how we're going to scale your compliance or your goals around managing that infrastructure. And we're going to sit down and do quarterly or more regularly reviews with you to make sure that we're always aligned, so that if your business priorities change, we're on the hook too.
So in July, you're also unveiling Planet Alpha. So why don't you elaborate on that a little?
Sure. So we have a long history in supporting the self-managed hosting market, and that really is what the Planet has been known for. We're going to continue to focus on that market, and we're going to do it by really continuing to service their key needs, whether it be broader set of servers from a leading provider, fast provisioning times, self-management capabilities. In order to do that and communicate with them in the way they expect, we've launched really the Planet Alpha dedicated servers line, right? And this is, again, what you've kind of always known and loved from the Planet. And so really with our July launch, what we actually will be providing is not just the fully managed offering, which is really what this team is about, but really the ability to sort of tease out advanced services as you need fit, whether they be for very large and complex environments or whether they be for small, single or two-server environments. At the same time, we recognize that there are other customers out there that have different needs in terms of how they want to be communicated with, what their offerings are, what their expectations are, and that's really what the Northstar piece is. So coincident with the Planet Alpha launch, we, at the same time, we'll be launching a new set of ready-to-go servers. We'll be launching a new set of capability in our advanced virtual rack offering to include gigabit networking and advanced VPN services. And we'll continue to take that heritage and extend on that so that for customers that just really want self-managed infrastructure, large and small, Planet Alpha is the place that will provide that.
And the new offering obviously brings upon a new website as well.
Absolutely. So again, it goes back to that same point I was making earlier, is that different buyers have different needs in terms of what they expect to see. And so we didn't want to sort of, again, go back to a lowest common denominator, trying to serve both with a single website. So we've really clearly partitioned off what we're doing with the Planet Alpha, focusing on dedicated hosting buyers and self-managed buyers and what they need, and the Northstar side for, again, people that want that fully managed experience.
You know what, I'd be curious to find out a little more about the choice behind the branding, Northstar and Alpha.
Sure. I mean, Alpha is certainly, kind of where we came from. And I think, it's sort of the first letter of the alphabet, so to speak, and, it's going to be the heritage that will continue to, be the foundation for a lot of what we do. And then similarly on the Northstar, it's really about providing sort of a guiding direction for our customers, helping them understand, taking our expertise so that they don't have to build it themselves.
Well, Urvish, thanks for taking the time to teach me a little more about the Planet's new offering.
Well, thank you so much.